Hello, welcome to Notes on Trend Lines and Making Predictions. As we go through the slides today, please pause your video at any time that you need to write down the information on the slide. Today we'll be looking at scatter plots that model a linear association in order to estimate a trend line and our trend line to make predictions. What is a trend line? A trend line, or a line of best fit, is a line that represents the trend or correlation between two variables on a scatter plot. Your highlighted words are what need to be filled in on your recording sheet. A trend line reflects the general relationship between variables in a data set. Help to make reasonable predictions about what could happen. A trend line does not necessarily include or connect every point in the data set or show exactly what will happen. Let's use this information to make some predictions. Using a trend line to make predictions, please label your line on your paper as a trend line. Your arrow is pointing to the trend line. Notice that the trend line follows the trend of the data series. Our line does not connect the points. It also notice that the trend line has as many points above as below the line, or about as many points as above as below the line. So our trend line doesn't necessarily touch the points. It has some points above and some points below. There is a relationship where as a baby gets longer in inches, it also grows in weight. By looking at the trend line, we can predict that a baby that's 27 inches, so if we find 27 inches on the x-axis and we predict where we could find its weight on the y-axis, we would say that it's likely to weigh 15 pounds. Drawing a trend line and making predictions, example 2. We can draw a trend line that follows the trend of the data series. So if I were to draw a line, it should go through your data set. Remember, the trend line should have about as many points above as below the line. So I have a number of points above and below my line. By looking at the trend line, we're going to predict how many hours of sleep someone would get who watches 5 hours of TV. So 5 hours of TV is on your x-axis and hours of sleep is on the y-axis. So as we go to 5 hours of TV, we can predict they get roughly between 3 and 4 hours of sleep, maybe 3.5 hours of sleep. Our next example is talking about a used car value compared to its years of purchase and its value in thousands. So as we draw our trend line, remember the trend line should have as many points above as it does below. By looking at the trend line, you can predict the value of a car that was purchased 10 years ago. So a car purchased 10 years ago is roughly worth, I would say, maybe $11,000 to $12,000. Some points to remember. A trend line shows the trend of data and is used to show the relationship between two variables. Trend and relationship both need to be filled in on your recording sheet. A trend line may or may not pass through one or more points on the scatter plot. Sometimes your trend line will hit some points, other times it might not. Please do not try to connect all the points together on a line. A trend line does not always begin or pass through the origin. If you notice on the last two examples about sleeping and watching TV and about a car value, neither one of those went through the origin. Making predictions means you need to go beyond the given data and make an estimate. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you in class.